Okay, Armstrong Eagles, it's time to learn how to build your rocket. This one is a Quest Viper. It's a pretty good rocket. It should go about 1,500 feet with a C6-5 motor. So I'm going to show you how to put it together. For step one is to get your parachute laid out like this and cut it out. Do that using scissors. Okay, the next step is to take these little pieces of paper that look just like this. They're just little things to keep your parachute from ripping. There are white squares on which these white squares should be placed. So pull them out and then there's a hole that you want to pop out of each one. So it looks just like that. And then you place it on the parachute, lining it up with the holes like that. Go ahead and do that. Okay, that's all done. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to find your coil of parachute string. It looks like this. And there are 3 pieces of string. So we're going to carefully untie this. We want to take 1 piece of string at a time. And it goes between 2 adjacent holes. So take some scissors, poke a hole where the hole's supposed to be. Carefully like that so you don't rip it. Then insert the string through the hole. And then once you have the string through the hole, I'll zoom in so you can see, you're just going to do a double overhand knot or a double pretzel knot here to hold this part of the parachute. 1, and then the second pretzel knot there. If I can get it to go. Perfect. Now that that string is tied, I'll go to the neighboring one and I'll tie the other end of the same string to the neighboring hole. I'll repeat that process for the other 2 loops on the parachute, but it should look like this with 1 piece of string going to 2 holes. Okay, now that your parachute's all tied up, the next step is to tie it to the nose cone. So you need to get your nose cone, which is a plastic piece that looks like this. You're going to take your parachute and you're going to take all 3 loops of the parachute. 1, 2, 3. In your hands like this, as though you were opening the parachute, so they're all going to be in your hand, just like that. Now you'll take all 3 of them and make a loop just like this. Okay, so your hands through all 3 loops, and you're going to very carefully, this is a tricky part, you're going to take those 3 loops and you're going to pass them through this loophole on your nose cone. Pinch them nice and tight. Push them in, just like that. Open them up, just like this. Now, see, I've opened my loop back up. Here's another tricky bit. And you're going to take the end of your parachute right here, and you're going to pass it through the loop. Then when you pull, very gently, it'll tighten up on the nose cone. Once it's tightened up on the nose cone, then you want to take the parachute and just kind of gently roll it up like this and wind the cords around it gently like that. and then take this whole assembly, nose cone and parachute, and put it off to the side. Now we get to the fun part, actually assembling the rocket. So this is the rocket housing tube. We'll need this later. Because this is white cardboard, you can feel free to decorate this in any way that you'd like. It's just a cardboard tube, but be careful with it because there's only one per kit. This little orange one is an important piece. This is called your rocket motor mounting assembly. And this is what we're going to spend most of our time putting together because this is the tricky piece. So, if you look at this very carefully, you'll notice that right there, there's a little notch. That's the first important thing that we want to locate, is that little tiny hole. It's only on one side. Inside your kit, you'll have a piece of metal that's like this. This will hold your rocket in. On the end, there's a tiny little 90-degree angle with a tiny little fiddly bit on the end. That fiddly bit is going to go into the hole on the yellow thing like this. The other side will protrude off the bottom of the yellow thing thusly. Okay? The next step, after you put that in, is to locate these two big red rings. These two big red rings will hold and support the rocket engine. So the first one we're going to take over here on the end where the metal poked in, where the notch is. We're going to take this ring, we're going to gently but firmly slide it over the top of that yellow tube, and then we're going to slide it all the way down until it's about a half an inch from the end, just like that. We're going to leave it there for a second. We'll do the same thing with the other one. We're going to slide it down until it's a half an inch from the end like that. Okay? Don't do any glue or anything, just put it like that. We've got a couple more things to do. So put that off to the side. The next thing that you need to worry about is your shock cord and your bungee cord. These are going to keep the two parts of your rocket, the nose cone with the parachute and the body of your rocket, together on its way back down to the earth, which is an important thing. Take the two ends and line them up so that they are like this, equal in distance. Go down about 1 inch. Keep them right next to each other and tie one overhand knot. Then if you pull those two, they'll cinch together and it'll look just like that. Now you've got one big long string. The yellow side is made out of Kevlar, a super strong material they make bulletproof vests out of. But even though it's made out of Kevlar, they do snap, so be careful with them. Okay, now I need to take my Kevlar end that's not tied to the bungee and tie a single overhand knot in the end. Just like that, so that it's got a kind of a round ball on the end where there's a knot. So there's a knot. Okay? Go back to your rocket engine assembly. Not the side at the end where the motor goes in, but the side with the notch. Remember the side with the notch? Pull that ring back off. Push your Kevlar wire or your Kevlar string through there just a little ways so that the knot clears. And then with the Kevlar inside it, gently push it, and this might take a little bit of force and cunning. Gently push it back, again about a half an inch from the end. Be careful not to crush the tube right there. Now you'll see it's where it was before, only now my Kevlar string is there. Okay? If you'd like to, you can gently pull your Kevlar string until the knot bumps up against that red ring. Now we get to the stage where we do some gluing. Okay? So you'll need white Elmer's glue. This is the best material for the job. We're going to open up our white Elmer's glue, and really a dab will do you. So I'm just going to push this ring out of the way just enough so that I can put glue where the ring goes. Okay? So I'll just put a kind of a ring of glue around where I want the red ring to go. And you'll notice I'm not oozing 9 tons of glue on here, it's just enough to hold it. So there you go. And then I'll push my ring back onto the glue. go, and then I'll pull my Kevlar cord tight. That side's now glued. Push this ring out of the way and do the same thing on the other side. When that glue dries, it will provide a very strong structure that the rocket engine can go inside. Now, you'll notice I've got one side here that has the Kevlar cord. The other side has this dangly thing coming off of it. If they're coming off the same side, you got to fix it really quickly before your glue dries. Okay, now search through your kit. You'll find a little blue ring that looks like this. This blue ring will stop the engine from going all the way up into your rocket. It goes on the Kevlar string side where your notch was of your yellow fuselage. It will push nicely inside the yellow tube, just like that. I'm going to take it back out now that I've fitted it to make sure that it fits. I'm going to put a nice ring of glue all the way around it. And once I've got glue all the way around it, making sure it's on the side with the notch, push it on, wipe the excess glue off with my finger, and voila! Rocket engine holding assembly is finished. If you'd like, you can take your scissors and snip off a little bit of that extra Kevlar, although it doesn't cut easily. Ta-da! That's perfect. Put it off to the side. Now you need your tube back. You're going to take your rocket engine assembly right here. Now it's got the Kevlar coming here. You'll take this whole line all the way down to the bungee line. You want to take one end of this bungee line, stick it in your tube and pull it all the way through. Ta-da! Now, you're going to push this in to your rocket until it goes to about 1/4 of an inch of the yellow sticking out of the bottom. Once you've figured out about where you want that to go. If you push it too far, it'll be really hard to get your rocket in and out. If you don't push it in far enough, it'll wiggle around. So you push it in so that that red ring is firmly inside and you got about 1/4 of an inch left. Once you've decided about where you're going to put that fit, pull it back out carefully, put a ring of glue all the way around both red rings and then push it back in. Okay, now I got glue all the way around. I'm going to push it in. And I'm going to leave it right there to dry. Put it off to the side, wipe up the extra glue, maybe just a touch further in, and just leave it carefully off to the side until your glue dries. Okay, the next step is your fins. One of the nice things about this rocket is that it comes with a prefabricated fin piece. It's all one piece that makes everything interesting. One thing that's really interesting about this rocket that gives it its interesting look is that the fins actually go a little bit backwards. So instead of pointing the traditional way like that everybody would think it would point, it actually points like that, and it kind of makes it look cool. So here's our rocket fuselage. Here's the end where the engine goes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this black piece onto my fuselage tube right up until the edge of the black is even with the edge of the white, and I'm going to glue it right there. So I'll go ahead and pull it off. I'll put a generous helping of glue all around that tube. Here, you don't want to gob glue all over it, but you want a generous helping of glue. If you don't have enough glue here, your rocket won't stay together. There's going to be a lot of force. So you can see I put a pretty generous helping of glue all the way around. I'm going to take my rocket fins and push them on. If you put it the other way accidentally, it's actually not going to make that big of a difference. I'm twisting the tube back and forth to get my glue distributed evenly. I'm going to continue to twist and push, and when I get to there, I'm going to stop. I'll use my finger to wipe up any extra glue that is oozed out of the top of the fin and wipe it clean, and you'll have a nice clean looking piece like that. Then put it off to the side to dry. And final step of putting your rocket together is marrying the two pieces. So I've got my rocket fuselage and I've got my white bungee cord. The end of my white bungee cord is going all the way through my rocket tube. I now need to go back to my nose cone that has my parachute, and through the same loop that the parachute cords do, I push this bungee cord, and I'm going to do a double overhand knot to hold it to the nose cone. 1, 2. Now before I tuck this in, to protect the bottom of the rocket from the engine and protect the parachute from the explosion in the engine, I use this stuff. It's called recovery wadding, and basically what I want to do is, it's like fireproof tissue paper. I'm going to push 3 balls of it loosely packed down into my rocket tube. 1, 2, 3. Don't use a tissue, it will catch fire. You have to use recovery wadding. I'm going to use my finger to kind of jam that down in there. If I want it to go a little further, I can gently use the blunt end of scissors to push that recovery wadding in there. Next, I'll take my parachute. Now, to fold the parachute again, you just kind of take it and put the tip of the parachute here, fold it in half, and then once it's gently folded in half, then you'll roll it. Now you don't want to roll it super tight. If you roll it too tight, it won't open. And if it doesn't open, your rocket will be plunging to the ground. Then I will very loosely wrap all of these cords around it, and then I shove it down into the tube. And then I get the rest of my bungee cord and the rest of my shock cord and shove it also down into the tube. This is a matter of stuffing stuff. And I'll make sure it's clear of the nose cone. I want to shove it down there. And then finally, take my nose cone itself, make sure all the cords are clear, and I push the nose cone into the top. Now for some of you, your nose cone will feel a little wobbly in there. You want it to be able to escape, but you don't want it to just fall off. So if it's a little bit wobbly, you can take some clear tape and just tear off maybe a couple of inches of clear tape. Go around your nose cone like this, and it will fatten up the edge of that nose cone a bit, and just keep doing it until you have a snug fit that still allows your nose to escape. I find that that much is usually enough. Okay, now that I've got my clear plastic tape wrapped around my nose cone, it slides in and out of my tube easily, but it's also tight enough that it's not going to fall out. And once that's all assembled, this rocket is ready. When we get out to Saltair, I'll give you your rocket engine. You'll take it and it will just kind of push this metal prong to the side, and it will slide gently inside, and the metal prong will clip shut and hold the engine in place. And that's how you build a model rocket. Good luck.